Okay, so just welcoming everyone to this month's edition of the MarketHER Monthly Live virtual event. This week, today, we're hosting Erinn Dumas, and we're so glad to have you, Erinn. Erinn is a podcaster and marketer extraordinaire. As you see, she's very unique. She's very stylish. She has her own brand about her that is both unique and true to Erinn, but also very professional for a corporate setting as well. So we asked Erinn to offer this presentation, and she was glad to take us up on that offer to talk to our audience about what it means and how you can offer yourself or show up as yourself authentically to a corporate office place, but at the same time, still have that executive presence. We're happy to have you, Erinn. I want to mention the name of your podcast. Let me grab it here. It's called
The
Help
Bigger
Me Out.
Conversation.
Say it one more time for me.
The Bigger Conversation.
The Bigger Conversation, exactly, that you do with your partner, Shannon. And so we want to look out for that as well. I'll actually put a link to it in the chat, and I'll send it as well. There we go. Great. Thanks. Thanks, Shannon. And I just want to mention where you are working and tell us the name of the company that you work for as well.
So first, thank you for having me tonight, Natalie. I currently work for MetaPhase Consulting, which is a government consulting firm based in Reston. And I also have a few small businesses now. But when you and I first connected, it was Dumas 83, which still exists. But I also relaunched my own clothing line. Well, it's now a women's boutique, online women's boutique called Elanice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So excited to hear that. Well, that ties in with your entire theme. So we're super excited to hear what you had to say. I'm going to let you take it away. And I'm going to go ahead and launch your presentation.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say I also co-own a experiential marketing agency with Shannon called the Pink Sapphire Agency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know about that one either. Do you want to tell us any more about that before we get started?
We will have a couple of events coming up. We will have a couple of events coming up in the next few months, but it's all about experiential marketing. And the website is thepinksapphire.agency.com.
Awesome. Shannon, since you're here, definitely feel free to drop any of those links into the chat as well. Awesome. All right, so you tell me, are you ready for me to pull up this presentation?
Sure.
Okay.
Welcome, Veronica.
Oops. There we go. Okay.
So I'll wait till the presentation shows.
All right, here we are. Oh, one more. Let me click one more button.
I was having technical difficulties, so Natalie has to present my slides for me.
Yeah, and now I'm having a few technical difficulties. Just a sec. There we go. Okay.
So again, thank you, Natalie, for having me today. So tonight I will talk about how personal style meets professional presence. And I struck out in a successful DEIB company because in my experience, I haven't worked for any company that has done diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging or accessibility well. And so this is really a presentation about how you can show up as your full self in a professional setting. And Veronica, sorry you missed this part, but my name is Erinn Dumas. I am a marketing and branding extraordinaire. I'm a podcaster, along with my co-host, Shannon Baylor Henderson, who happens to be on the call tonight. And by the end of the year, I will also have published author added to my list of titles. So Natalie, you can go to the next slide. Can you scroll up a little bit so just about Erinn is showing? Thank you. So who's Erinn? I am a native Washingtonian. I love colors and patterns. I have 18 years of marketing experience, working primarily within the government consulting space, private industry, as well as nonprofit. I'm also a serial entrepreneur in the making. I own two businesses on my own. I co-own one, and I co-host a marketing podcast called The Bigger Conversation. And it's a podcast all about marketing and how marketing really is ever present within our lives. And the picture that you see here is a picture of me at one of my first jobs. And I worked at the National Library of Medicine, and I was probably about 17 years old in this picture. So had no idea about business style, business etiquette, or anything. But as you can see, I had on a turquoise top. So as I prepared for this presentation, I looked and I knew there was a picture of me that had a god awful outfit. It was like a pale pink blouse, a black skirt, and it was like almost white tights, which was god awful. But the one thing that was consistent was there was always color or patterns within what I was wearing. So that's me in a nutshell. Natalie, can you go to the next slide, please? So we have seen the typical business suit, the black suit with the white blouse. Maybe it's a blue suit, gray suit. But this style for me, and no offense to anyone that may dress this way, is god awful. It is the most cringeworthy outfit for me because I do bring my full personality, my full self to work every day. And I really honestly know no other way. And Shannon can attest to this because I can't code switch. I can't do any of those things. But this stuff it is like nails on the wall. So next slide. So why does your style matter? So as I was preparing for this presentation, I found these two quotes on a LinkedIn article. The first one is, your image is your brand and your style is the defining calling card. And the second is, successful people are often remembered because of your personal style. So if these two quotes are true, why not bring your style to work? And I have a few slides down. There is some advice about if you work in a very conservative space, but you should always feel good about what you have on, really. It's all about feeling good and dressing for yourself. So even when you go to work, think of it as you're not going to go out on a date and not feel comfortable in what you're wearing. So why would you go to work where you spend 8 hours a day and not feel comfortable in your skin? Next slide. So what does this have to do with DEI? So diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, or accessibility? Next slide, please. So it deals with psychological safety. And they're saying that this is now a new term, but this term was first coined in the 1950s by psychologists, but it reemerged in 1999 by a Harvard professor. And so they're claiming that this Amy Edmondson is the one that coined it. But psychological safety is really much a shared belief that it's okay to take risks. It's okay to express your ideas and concerns, to speak up with questions and admit mistakes without fear of negative consequences. And when there is no psychological safety within a company setting, it's hard for employees to perform at their highest level because you're holding back some of who you are. Next slide. So what happens when you don't bring your full self to work? There's a lack of engagement, lack of productivity, and our well-being is diminished. We aren't really able to do our best thinking, our best, most innovative work because we're thinking and we're worrying too much. Did I say this okay? is my outfit okay? Am I presenting myself okay? You know, are people talking about me? We're too concerned with the things that don't help us meet our bottom line at work, excuse me. Next slide. So you may or may not have seen these two women. So on the left is Sydney Carter, Carter, who is the director of player development at the University of Texas. And she was really public in the news because people were talking about the way she dressed at work. And then on the right is Kim Mulkey, who is LSU's women's basketball head coach. And if you watched any of the games and you saw Kim's outfits, she would be in some of the most colorful, vibrant suits or sweaters or tops. And so these two women are at some of the higher levels within their fields and in these white male dominated industries, and they're showing up as themselves and they're saying, this is what I want to wear. This is what I feel good in. And so this is what I'm going to choose to wear, regardless of what someone else has to say. Next slide. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. How are you?
Finding you.
I'm good, thanks.
Good. So I'm almost at the end of my presentation, but I know Natalie's recording this, and feel free to ask whatever questions you may have at the end. And yes, Shannon, when you look good, you feel good, and you perform even better. So how can you incorporate your style? Next slide. So there's a multitude of ways. So you can wear patterns, you can wear bold colors, your handbags. I like to call it funky jewelry, but it's like funky fun jewelry. So like me, I love my turquoise rings. Um, you can wear bright, bold tights. You can have your nails done in amazing designs. I call it funky as well, but they're fun designs to me. Or you could do jewelry. And if you work in a conservative workspace, you know, it might just be you wear a bigger hoop than normal, or it might be your handbag, because that might be an easy way for you to express your style without getting in trouble or being reprimanded because you're supposed to be in business attire. Maybe you can wear these tights, or you can do these the glasses frames. So there's a multitude of ways that you could do it. Hey, even I mean, depending upon your workplace and if you like hair color, but you can also do hair color. You know, whether it's you're dyeing your actual hair, you're doing a quick weave, you're doing braids. There's so many different ways that you can incorporate your style into these professional settings. So that's actually the end of my presentation. But I want to just encourage everyone listening to show up as your full self, because as Shannon said, when you look good, you feel good. And that's what is being projected to everyone that sees you or encounters you. Does anyone have any questions?
I have some question. I have
Sure.
one question we can get us started with. One of my questions is along the lines of Erinn, and I know that you're just speaking about your opinion, but based on your experience and your research, do you think that a person can take it too far, to whereas you sort of no longer sort of respecting or appreciating the work environment?
So I think it depends on the work environment where people work. And so if you're in New York and you work at an ad agency, you can come in short shorts with a blazer or blouse, pumps. I've seen it because at one point I did interview in New York and I was like, whoa, this woman's wearing what in the office space? But if you're in more of a business casual environment, then you may just want to wear your slacks and a blouse. Like me and Natalie happen to dress alike today, but but you might want to wear a colorful blouse. So you have to tone it down based upon your workspace. I know in some, like if you work at a law firm, they might have strict regulations about your hair. So like you may not be able to dye your hair. So dyeing your hair would take it too far. But But in that space, it might be you have to show it through your nails or your jewelry or, you know, a necklace. So there are instances where you take it too far. Yes, I agree with that, Veronica, knowing your company's dress policy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, you know, it's beneficial for people to, if you want to really like push your personal style every day, your everyday life, and you have a job, you're going to have a job where you got to go into the office, maybe try to find a company that is more DEI conscious or trying to prioritize DEI a little bit more. I mean, that's something I was thinking about doing my research as well. Like, you know, some people may have tattoos, they may have like different styles of earring or dear piercings in their ear or things like that. And there are definitely places that are going to be more, you know, embrace that more than others.
Yeah, and I would say because for me, I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of companies that really do DEI well. But you know, like you were saying as well, is find companies that align to your to your values and your goals. And some companies are just a little more rigid. And so I probably wouldn't get an interview at those companies because of my hair color, you know, but those aren't the companies for me because I need that freedom to be able to express myself.
Agreed. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon, you had a question. Can you come off mute?
Sure. I was just asking, do you think that your style affects how seriously key stakeholders take your work or your skill? So when you show up authentically as yourself, just physically in your dress and attire, do you think other people don't take you as seriously?
So I can be an anomaly at times. And so I know for me, because of the way I present myself, it doesn't take away from my output in the way that people see me. But I know that for some, it may. And I have gotten into a place within myself to where, and this is not to be rude, but I don't care what other people think about me and what they may think. But so sorry, I'm having a lot of different thoughts in my head right now. But another thought to that is the good thing about me having the red hair or pink hair at this point is you'll always be able to find me. You could spot me out in the crowd because if you're within the federal government consulting space as I am, it's still a lot of white males in this industry. And I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and I was just, you know, people were like, oh, I'm going to remember you because out of the sea of the gray suits or the blue suits and the white men in them, you saw me with, I had on a tan sweater, orange pants, and my pink hair. So, so I know I kind of I answered your question, and then I kind of took it off on a tangent, Shannon. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It just kind of speaks to what I was saying. I know that you and I both speak at events or attend events, and I make it a point not to dress in corporate wear at all. It just doesn't fit to my personality. And I think that's just something about marketers, you know, that we always do things that look a little bit different from everyone else in the room. But I've always wondered, you know, does that create a barrier where people initially don't take you as seriously because you don't fit the corporate aesthetic? And then you have to prove yourself that you are actually someone very talented with a necessary skill set and you deserve to be in that space.
Yeah. And I think when people meet me and I say, oh, I'm the marketing manager, and they're like, oh, okay. And then it's like they can connect, I guess, because of the advent of social media more so. They can connect like, oh, marketing, social media. Now I get the hair and the clothes because, you know, it's not that suit and tie type of appearance.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, I'm not an authority on the topic, but I would definitely say there is definitely something about, you know, a certain presence that when you present yourself with a certain seriousness, you know what you're talking about, you have a certain communication style that sort of, and I mean, obviously, like you said, combined with the fact that people can associate marketing with creativity in the first place, that helps to smooth that out. So that's good for that's like a perk for us in this field. But of course, there are a lot of people in a lot of fields who want to, be themselves authentically in their workplace. So.
And I think, people probably do give me those side eyes, but when I walk into rooms, I have my blinders on. So I look for people I know because I hate networking. So I just go to people that I know and, but I'm sure people have their opinions and like, who is this? And they think I'm young too. So it's like, who's this young Black girl with this red hair? But I'll stop babbling. Yes, Brenda.
Hi. I think this is like really good conversation, and I've always felt like I've always worked in like corporate America and now, in government consulting, and I just always wore the corporate attire, just always looked very corporate, and I guess that was just me, and I just felt comfortable like that, wearing the suits and the, that corporate look, and then and then when I met you, and it was just always like, I always talked about your hair. I remember I used to always say, "Oh my God, I love your hair," because I just always felt like she's different. She has kind of definitely stepped outside of this box, and I just was like, geez, I probably could never do that, like change my hair color and take on that image. But I just thought it was like the greatest thing. And you were well received and well respected there. And I just, it was just amazing to me. And so, and I think that's a wonderful thing, because as someone just said, it doesn't matter how you look and how you dress, it's really, what you bring to the table, the quality that you have, the value that you bring to the company is what really matters. But we still have to consider the fact that some people do look at you or look at us, and, if we're not dressed in the image that they think or how we should be dressed, they do draw their own conclusions. But again, if you add value, then then it's just too bad what they think, right? Because and so I am trying to get to that point. I mean, I'm remote now, so it doesn't really matter. But but if I ever get back to in person working, I really like, even now, like even home, I try to step out of that bag, of having that corporate kind of thing and wearing more colors and, trying to do different things with my hair. And so, and I don't know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, but thank you for this time. I just wanted to comment there. So.
Oh, thank you. But Brenda, your hair was always laid. So like, and even though you were more within the corporate dress, your style still shined through. Like it was very neat, very clean, but your personality still shined through it to me. So like, even though you feel like you dress in this more corporate way, your personality still shined through, like with your hair, your jewelry, and just the way that you arranged your outfits.
Well, thank you. I tried.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely, I don't know if there are other questions, definitely feel free to speak up. One thought I had, I'll mention I had an experience where I went into like bank marketing for a bit. And though I really love this setting, and I did, a part of why I took the job is because the guy had like this big beard. But inside of that bank, there was still like, I got a lot of heat because of braids. Just nice, as you said, neat, clean braids, but still it wasn't acceptable there. And that's around the time when actually the Crown Act was up for discussion. So at that point, actually, it was illegal. The bank president said something to me about it. I think I changed my hair. I took the braids out, and he said, "Thank God you took the braids out. We didn't like it." And I was like, well, my hiring manager
that is
didn't
wild.
have an issue with it. Yeah, that was wild. So I didn't know what to say to him at that time. And that's a part of why I wanted to have this kind of conversation, because I think we do kind of need to be armed with a response to that, and not just hair, but other things as well. Sometimes, sometimes we just let, as we've said, like let our work and our presence speak for us. But other times we may have to say something. There was another person in the room who looked over and kind of, older lady. And I was just like, no, this is neat and clean. This is acceptable hair for this environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know Shannon's the queen of the corporate clapback. So Shannon, what would you have said?
Not much. I would have left.
And I did. Well,
wouldn't say much. If my hair, if my outfit, if the way that I talk or the way that I sound when I talk disturbs you to the point that you can't see past it enough to see the skill and the value that I bring to the table, then I don't need to sit at your table. So but I'm also, someone who has left the corporate ghetto. So, and I'm not going back. So it's a different vibe for me. And I really do respect rules and boundaries, and policies for different environments. And I understand that, when you show up to work for someone else, their rules are their rules. And it's just really important for you when you're doing that interview process, especially to make sure you have the right corporate fit and the right cultural fit so that your personality doesn't brush up against policy.
Yeah.
And that's huge, Shannon. I'm glad you mentioned the cultural fit because, like I said, we spend 8 hours at these jobs every day. So 40 hours a week at least. Some people more. And it's just, it has to be that cultural fit where you can show up with your box braids and, whatever else you want to wear and be accepted.
Absolutely. Well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, we're about almost at the hour, and I'll just say that on the events page of the MarketHER, the MarketHERgroup.com website, the next meeting coming up is a Lean In Circle where we gather to talk about different topics for Lean In, and then there's another in-person meetup. And then we have April Frazier talking about serve, don't sell, confidently magnetize your ready to pay customers. And that's in, let me see, it looks like that's going to be next month. So Erinn, we thank you so much for getting this conversation going with us. I will gather some of your key takeaways and post those out, and we'll post this video on YouTube as well. I'll draw a few other people's attention to it because I know some other DEI professionals that I think would be very interested in hearing what you have to say about this. So thank you so much. And I'm sure everyone agrees.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Well, have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
you.
Shannon.
Good night.
Good night, Brenda, Veronica.
Bye.